Today's topic is 10th cranial nerve, that is vagus nerve. I'm Dr. Mohammad Sharjeel Ilyas, Assistant Professor in Postgraduate Medical Institute, Amiruddin Medical College, Lahore. Objectives of today's topic are to learn about the nucleus of the nerve and their characteristics, the course of the nerve in head region and neck region only, the branches of the nerve given in the head and neck region, and its applied aspects. First of all and foremost are the nucleus of the nerve. The vagus nerve is 10th cranial nerve. It is functionally diverse nerve, which is associated with the embryological derivatives of fourth and sixth pharyngeal arches. Before going into the detail, the foremost thing is to know about the nuclei of the nerve. To know about nuclei of any nerve gives or tells us about its characteristics. So here we have four nuclei of the vagus nerve. First of all, nucleus ambiguous. It's a motor nuclei. The second one is medial to it is dorsal nucleus, which is a parasympathetic nucleus. While on sensory side we have tractus solitarius, a very famous for taste sensations. It carries fibers for taste sensation. It has two parts, superior and inferior, or rostral or caudal. The vagus nerve is associated with caudal part of tractus solitarius nucleus, and the final is spinal trigeminal nuclei. This nucleus is very famous as it contributes to form sensory fibers for trigeminal nerve as well as for facial nerve. So here it is forming or contributing in the formation of sensory output for vagus nerve. Here's a little bit detail about these nuclei. This is nucleus ambiguous, present on the lateral side in the medulla region. It gives efferent motor supply to pharynx, all the muscles of the pharynx except one, all the muscles of the larynx, and all the muscles of the palate except one. We will discuss exceptions in detail afterwards. Here's nucleus tractus solitarius. Here it has two functions. First of all, it is chemosensory, a minor function for this nerve as it carries special afferent for root of tongue and epiglottis, taste fibers. The other function is viscerosensory. It carries fibers from larynx, pharynx, esophagus, thoracic and abdominal viscera. These are sensory fibers from these organs. The third nucleus is spinal nucleus of trigeminal nerve. As we know that it carries sensory fibers and gives takes in sensory information from larynx, auricle, part of auricle, external acoustic meatus, and dura mater of the posterior cranial fossa, from where it emerges. This nerve emerges. The final nucleus is parasympathetic nucleus, which is called dorsal vagal nucleus, and it gives visceral efferents to smooth muscles of trachea, bronchi, and GIT. It also regulates heart rhythm through cardiac supply. This is the summary of the nuclei of a vagus nerve. First of all, parasympathetic characteristics component in the dorsal vagal nucleus, then motor component in ambiguous nucleus, then viscerosensory and chemosensory component in solitary nucleus or solitary tract nucleus or tractus solitarius nucleus, one and the same thing, and somatosensory from spinal trigeminal nerve. Now, the anatomical course of this nerve. Vagus nerve has longest course of all cranial nerves, extending from head to abdomen. It originates from medulla oblongata of brainstem and it exits through jugular foramen present in the posterior cranial fossa. Coming out from the jugular foramen, it forms two ganglia, the superior ganglia of the vagus nerve and inferior ganglia of the vagus nerve, shown in the yellow balloons, superior and inferior ganglion of the vagus nerve. From superior ganglia of the vagus nerve, a branch emerges, which is called meningeal branch, and it comes backward into the cranial cavity, posterior cranial fossa, and responsible for the sensory supply of the deuterator of posterior cranial fossa. The second branch emerges as auricular branch. Another picture showing jugular foramen and these two ganglia, superior ganglia and inferior ganglia. And from the superior ganglia, a branch is coming out in green color towards the ear, which is called auricular branch. This branch takes sensory supply from tympanic membrane, external acoustic meatus, and part of external ear. The area shown in blue, dark blue color, it is supplied by the vagus nerve, including the tragus of the ear. This is the sensory supply given by the vagus nerve. Now, the taste sensations we have in green and red the nucleus of Tractus solitarius. The green is rostral part while the red is caudal part. Actually, it comes out from the caudal part, and here it is epiglottis associated with the root of the tongue, and the fibers of taste sensations comes out through these two portions and comes to the inferior ganglion or nodose ganglion and goes to the Tractus solitarius nucleus. Now it travels deep into the neck and gives pharyngeal branch. This pharyngeal branch actually meets with cranial root of accessory nerve, the 11th cranial nerve, and form a pharyngeal plexus. This plexus is responsible for the motor supply of many of the muscles, especially all of the pharyngeal muscles like superior constrictor, middle constrictor, and inferior constrictors, except stylopharyngeus muscle. This muscle is supplied by ninth cranial nerve, that is glossopharyngeal nerve. And there are two other muscles of pharynx, salpingopharyngeus and palatopharyngeus. They are also supplied by vagus nerve. Now, all of the muscles of the palate are also supplied by vagus nerve except tensor villi palatini, which is supplied by trigeminal nerve, mandibular division of the trigeminal nerve. The muscles of the pharynx, palate are levator villi palatini, palatopharyngeus, palatoglossus, and uvula. So we have four muscles here: levator villi palatini, palatopharyngeus, palatoglossus, and uvula, which is not shown in the picture. These four muscles of palate are supplied by vagus nerve, while tensor villi palatini, the fifth muscle of the palate, is supplied by mandibular branch of the trigeminal nerve. This palatoglossus muscle is a muscle of tongue. All the extrinsic and intrinsic muscles of the tongue are supplied by 12th cranial nerve, hypoglossal nerve. Palatoglossus is an extrinsic muscle, which is only exception, and it is supplied by vagus nerve. Now, the portion of larynx or laryngopharynx, the sensory supply is also coming from pharyngeal plexus. Now, supply to the larynx through superior laryngeal nerve. This nerve is also in the neck, and now it is coming out from the vagus nerve, while vagus nerve is traveling in carotid sheath along with common carotid artery and internal jugular vein. So this nerve comes out superior laryngeal nerve and gives two branches, internal laryngeal and external laryngeal nerve. External laryngeal nerve is special as it supplies the only muscle of the larynx, that is cricothyroid muscle. All of the other muscles of the larynx are supplied by recurrent laryngeal nerve, another branch of the vagus nerve. While internal laryngeal nerve gives sensory supply to the internal lining of the larynx above vocal fold. Another picture showing superior laryngeal nerve in green, giving two branches, superior is internal and inferior is external laryngeal nerve. External laryngeal nerve is supplying the cricothyroid muscle shown in the picture, while the internal laryngeal nerve pierces the thyroid membrane and gives supply to the internal sensory supply to the internal lining of larynx above the vocal fold. Now the last branch in the neck is recurrent laryngeal nerve. It is very interesting nerve, as on the right side vagus nerve falls downward into the thorax, and it takes a loop around right subclavian artery and emerges again, rises again into the neck and supply the larynx. On the left side, it takes loop around the arch of aorta and rises again to give supply to the larynx. Now, recurrent laryngeal nerve, right or left, both supply all of the muscles of larynx except cricothyroid, which is supplied by external laryngeal nerve, branch of the superior laryngeal nerve, again the branch of vagus nerve. While all the sensory supply, including vocal fold and below the vocal fold, is given by recurrent laryngeal nerve. This is the sensory supply. Now the applied aspects. Injury to the recurrent laryngeal nerve is very important as it controls all the muscles of the larynx. Either injury to the cricothyroid or to the recurrent laryngeal nerve, unilaterally or bilaterally, they cause different situations, especially hoarseness of the sound and difficulty in breathing. Only one condition where the partial injury to the recurrent laryngeal nerves of both sides may cause adduction of vocal cords and a life-threatening position. Otherwise, the breathing is normal, while the forced breathing is halted in other conditions and hoarseness of voice is there. So that's all about the vagus nerve in the head and neck region. Thank you so much.